the Sunday Love Feast here. And I hope those who are visiting, they're enjoying the stay here. How is Daytona Beach? How is the ocean? Very good. Yeah, it's a good time to go to the ocean. Hare Krishna. Everyone is nicely situated in Krishna consciousness. What is Krishna consciousness? What is ISKCON is presenting? Okay, let's discuss about that today. To properly understand what Krishna consciousness is presenting, I'll just go to one incident. In Vrindavan, I was with Srila Prabhupada, and one day, Srila Prabhupada, there were a few of us, and one day Srila Prabhupada mentioned that in order to properly preach, we must study the 6 branches of philosophy. And so later on, not right there, later on when I was alone with Srila Prabhupada, actually in those days I was a new devotee, and I did not want to ask too many questions in front of others. So many senior devotees were surrounding Srila Prabhupada. So when I was alone with Srila Prabhupada, I just asked, Prabhupada, it has been mentioned that 5 of those 6 branches of philosophy are atheistic. And even Deland Sutra, which is the final one, the 6th one, Uttar Mimamsa, final conclusion, that also is not directly establishing the Supreme Personality of God. So indirectly that also is not quite theistic. So why do we have to study the 6 branches of philosophy? Then Prabhupada mentioned that the 6 branches of philosophy are actually 6 rungs to reach the top of a ladder. So the rungs are meant to go to the top. But if we just get stuck to the rung, then we miss the point. So these philosophies by themselves is not concluding. They are actually, they can be misleading. Because they're just rungs, they're not meant to be stuck there. We are meant to, rungs are of a ladder, is meant to be used to reach the top. And then Prabhupada mentioned that these 6 branches of philosophy are gradually taking. There are 3 khandas in the Vedas. Karma Khanda, Jnana Khanda, and Bhakti. Conclusion, the ultimate is Bhakti or devotion. Like in Bhagavad Gita we see, first 6 branches, first 6 chapters are Karma Khanda. The last 6 chapters are Jnana Khanda. And in the middle there is Bhakti. Sometimes the question arises, oh, that actually means Bhakti is the second. First is Karma Khanda, then Bhakti, and then finally it is Jnana. But our Acharyas have pointed out, no, Bhakti is the ultimate. And just as the most valuable thing is not kept at the end, or where is the most valuable thing is kept? When do you keep your money? Do you keep your money at your doorsteps? Or do you keep your money in the toilet? Where do you keep the money? The money is kept in the safest place. So similarly, in Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti is kept in the middle because that is the crest jewel. Like look at a locket. Where is the most precious gem? At the corner? In the middle. So anyway, so bhakti is the ultimate, and that is being pointed out. Karma kanda, jnana kanda, and then bhakti. Bhakti actually means loving relationship with the Supreme Personality. Karma kanda. Initially, what does everybody want? Initially, everyone wants to enjoy. How to enjoy? The question is how to enjoy. And so, these branches of the Vedas are giving the understanding that as you act, accordingly you'll get the result. If you act in a right way, the result will be desirable. If you act in a wrong way, then the desire will be unfavorable. So Vedas in the Karma Kanda section are giving the direction, how to act. How to act. Because everybody wants to enjoy. Vedas are not saying don't enjoy. Vedas are not saying just leave home and go to the forest. No. Vedas are saying, okay, if you want to enjoy, go ahead, enjoy. Enjoy, but know how to enjoy. Because if you act in an inappropriate way, then instead of enjoying, you'll end up suffering. So how to enjoy? That prescription is given in the Karma Kanda section. Wrong action will lead to suffering. Say for example, if somebody thinks that if I get a lot of money, I will enjoy. And he goes and robs a bank. He gets a lot of money, but instead of enjoying, he ends up in the prison. So that is how the wrong action will lead to suffering. So don't try to achieve your means by wrong action. Achieve your means to the right action. What is the right action? Punya. And what is the punya? Punya is what is going to give us the benefit to enjoy. Also, like further we can consider that punya is like what money is. Like money is wealth. Punya is subtle wealth. Like when you have money, say you go to a shop, you like something. If you have money in your pocket, you can buy it. But if you don't have money, then you have to just be happy window shopping. So similarly, we have desires and we want to fulfill our desires. Fulfillment of desire is actually happiness. When our desire is fulfilled, we are happy. When our desires are not fulfilled, we are sad. Right? So, fulfillment of desires is related to the punya that we have. Somebody wants to be a king. Can everybody become a king? No. If somebody has a lot of punya, then yes, he can become a king. Everybody wants to be rich. Can everybody become rich? No. If he has punya, he becomes rich. Therefore, sometimes we find someone is born in a billionaire's family. Just by birth, he's a billionaire. He didn't have to struggle to make the money. Just being born in that family, he's a billionaire. Why is he born in that family? Because of his punya. So this is how punya is the means to fulfill our desire that leads to happiness. So this is the Karma Kanda section is dealt with a branch of philosophy called Purva Mimamsa. Purva means preliminary. And Mimamsa means conclusion. What is the preliminary conclusion? Right action will lead to enjoyment, wrong action will lead to suffering. Right action will give us punya, wrong action will cause harm or sin. As a result of right action or punya, one will enjoy. As a result of wrong action, one will suffer. That is the Purva Mimamsa, preliminary conclusion, which is also known as Karma Mimamsa. Karma Mimamsa. The theory of karmic reactions. And Vedas are giving all kinds of prescriptions how to fulfill your desires. You want to be very wealthy? Yes, perform these activities and you'll become rich. You want to become a king? Perform these activities, you'll become a king. You want to become a monarch? Perform these activities, you'll become a monarch. You want to become the ruler of the entire earth planet? Perform such and such activity or sacrifice, you'll become the ruler of the earth planet. You are not satisfied even becoming the ruler of the entire earth planet. You want to become the ruler of the heavenly planet. Okay, good. So this is how Vedas are giving the prescriptions how to fulfill different desires. All the way up to heavenly planets. Becoming Indra. But the point is, no matter how much one enjoys, no matter how much one wants to enjoy, can anybody get uninterrupted enjoyment? No. Suffering comes. We do not want suffering, but suffering comes on its own, uninvited. So then the question arises, Jai Shri Shri Gauranga. We do not want to suffer, we want to enjoy. But why are we? Why are we suffering? So, the prescription, the Vedas, now taking them to the next. Why are we suffering? That question is leading to the next step. And the next step is Jnana. Knowledge. Why? Why am I suffering? And what is the conclusion? The conclusion of this analysis is, this is a place of suffering, and this body is a wonderful instrument to receive pain. So what else can we expect? If you are in a place of suffering, so does anybody go to the prison house to enjoy? Everyone is sent to the prison house to suffer. Therefore, this material nature has been compared to a prison house, where everyone is being punished because of its wrongdoings. And the thing is, our body, we are in a place of suffering with a body which is a wonderful instrument for receiving pain. Does it sound shocking? How can Maharaj say that this body is an instrument to receive pain? I'm enjoying so much through this body, or I'm trying to enjoy so much through this body. But look at the reality. Take any part of your body. Any part of your body. Can you select some part of your body? Head. Okay, head. Now consider in how many ways you can inflict pain to the head. Take a hammer and smash it. Right? Take some knife and cut it. Take some fire and burn it. What will you get? Suffering, pain. And in this way, you can see there are thousands of ways that you can inflict pain to the head. And that actually applies to any part of your body. Take your earlobe. You don't even see it unless you're looking at yourself in the mirror. This earlobe. Now consider how many ways you can give pain to the earlobes. Isn't it? Same way. Take a knife, cut it. Take a pin, pierce it. take some fire, burn it. And that applies to every single part of our body. And that's why we can consider this body is an instrument to receive pain. And what we are doing, we have been endowed with a thing called intelligence. With the intelligence, we are actually avoiding the painful situation. If I wrongly handle the knife, I will cut my finger. So very carefully use the knife. If I touch the fire, I'll burn. If I get into this situation, I'll get pain. So avoid those possibilities. That's what we are doing. Always trying to avoid the painful situation. But still we don't succeed. Sometimes pain comes. And that is the nature of this body. So now, if you are in a place of suffering with an instrument to receive pain, what else can we expect? So the conclusion is, this was place of suffering. Therefore, get out of it. Get out of this condition. Therefore, Jnana-kanda is leading to mukti. Karma-kanda is leading to bhakti, bhukti. Bhukti means enjoy, bhoga. Karma-kanda is leading to bhukti, and Jnana-kanda is leading to mukti. It's a place of suffering. I don't want to suffer. As long as I'm going to be here, I'm going to suffer. Whether here in the earth planet or in a heavenly planet. Even the demigods, they suffer. In some places the suffering is more intense, and in some other places the suffering is less intense. But the suffering is there as long as you remain in this material nature. Then the consideration is, then what is this material nature? That is leading to the next branch of philosophy called Vaisheshika. Vaisheshika is leading to atomic theory. This whole creation, whatever you are perceiving, is not actually the way it is. They all are combination of atoms and molecules. Atoms, actually here also we have to consider that the atom, according to the Vedic understanding, Paramanu, is not only just the concept of atom and proton and electrons and neutrons that we have. It's not that. It's the minutest particle. So this nature is composed of it. But even with atomic theory we can consider. It is a combination of atoms. What is this microphone? What is this tissue? These are all combinations of atoms and molecules in certain condition. In certain condition it is a tissue, in certain other condition these atoms are solid substance, and the arrangement is acting as a microphone. Then they go into the next branch of philosophy called Sankhya. Sankhya means analytical study. Analyze this nature. Okay, we are seeing it is a coming, but actually there are various varieties that we experience. So what is that? So they are leading to the consideration. There are 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Solid, liquid, fiery, aerial, ethereal. 5 gross elements. And we have 5 senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch. And our senses interact with the elements of this nature and give rise to 5 objects of the senses. Like for example, ears interact with ether, sound is produced. Skin interacts with air, touch is produced. Eyes interact with fire, form is produced. Tongue interacts with water, taste is produced. And nose interacts with earth and smell is produced. So due to the interaction between the 5 elements of the nature with the 5 senses, 5 objects of the senses are generated. Sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. And then there are 5 working senses. We become active with 5 working senses. What are those working senses? Speech, hands, belly, genital, and anus. So these are the 5 working senses. So 5 elements, 5 senses, 5 objects of the senses, and 5 working senses. How many did we get? 20. Then they consider that there are 3 subtle elements: mind, intelligence, and false ego. Man, buddhi, and ahankar. Mind is a substance, mind is matter. But subtle matter. Intelligence is matter, subtle. And false ego also is matter, subtle matter. So this is how we have 3 subtle elements: mind, intelligence, and false ego. Then we have Mahat Tattva, the sum total of entire creation, from which all these have evolved in this material nature. And that is the Mahat, the basic ingredients for entire creation. So 20 plus 3 plus Mahat Tattva, how many did you get? 24. Now you see, with this 24 consideration, the entire material nature has been analyzed, isn't it? Do you have anything else left? No. But the Vedic philosophers consider, well, all these 24 are objective in nature, but the object cannot exist without the subject. Right? So who is the subject? I am the subject. I am, therefore this is. And that applies to all of us. All of our eyes are the observer of the subject. Now see, entire material nature has been analyzed with this 24 consideration, but I couldn't be found. Therefore, I is from another reality, another nature. See how wonderfully they transcend material and come to the spiritual. The 25th consideration is I, or the soul. The soul is coming from another reality, spiritual reality, beyond this material nature. Then further they consider eyes are many and minute. Therefore it must have a source. Right? Anything that is minute and many must have a source. So who is that source? Who is the source of all souls? Supreme Soul, or God. God is the Supreme Soul, the Supreme Personality from whom all other personalities have evolved. So with this 26, through Sankhya, this 26th consideration is established. But then the consideration is that we are the parts, the souls are the parts and parcels of the Supreme Soul. Now what is the relationship between the part and the whole? Like this finger is a part of my body. It is a part of the body, therefore this has a link or relationship with the body. So what is our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead? that is taking to the next branch of philosophy called yoga. Yoga means, the word yoga means link, connection. What is a connection? With the Supreme. As parts and parcels, what's our connection with the Supreme Whole? Jai Shri Shri Govinda. So the yoga is considering why did we become separated? Because of our impurities. So, purify. The purification first is the external purification, which is called yam. Then, internal purification, second stage, niyam. Then we are in this body, which is a machine or a vehicle that enables us to reach our goal. Therefore, we must learn how to utilize this machine. So, in order to drive a machine, what's the first thing you have to do? Sit in the right place, right? When you drive a car, what do you do? What's the first thing you do? You sit on the driver's seat, right? Asana. Learning how to utilize the body to reach our goal. Then pranayama, controlling the breathing. Because our consciousness is very closely connected to our breathing. Like for example, when you're peaceful, how do you breathe? Softly, gently. And when you're excited, how do you breathe? Right? So, this is how our state or our consciousness is dependent upon our breathing. So, control your breathing. Pranayama. And then, one learns or goes, when you control your breathing, meaning control your mind, that is constantly dragging you towards the objects of the senses, then only you become eligible to withdraw your senses from the objects of the senses. The purpose of the yoga basically, the yoga aphorism, the first aphorism is Atha Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Stop the activities of the mind. And what is the mind doing? Dhayate Vishayan Pumsha Sankasteshu. The mind is constantly dragging our consciousness through the senses to the objects of the senses. Our consciousness through the mind is projected externally. Now, if you want to internalize your senses, then what you have to do? First, you have to withdraw. So, the fifth stage of yoga is called pratyahara, means withdrawing the senses from the objects of the senses. And when you are able to do that, then only you are able to meditate. Meditation is not just close the eyes and breathe in a certain way, sitting down at one place and think about all kinds of nonsense. That's not meditation. Actually, Krishna speaks about that so-called meditation in Bhagavad Gita. He says, Sarvendriyani samjamya ya aste manasha smaran indriyarthan vimuratma mitthachara sajjati. Sarvendriyani samjamya, controlling all his senses. He has controlled all his senses. But manasa smaran, in his mind he is thinking about the objects of the senses. Indriyarthan, for the sake of sense gratification. Indriyarthan, vimuratma. Vimuratma, that fool. Vimura means that fool is a false pretender. Externally he seems like a big yogi. Control his senses. I mean, these are the yogis, even those who have controlled the senses. Nowadays, no sense control. Like, mind you, eating is very important in that respect. Jam and niyam aspect, because it's in the jam stage. What you eat, that becomes your body. Right? You are what you eat. So make sure that you eat the right stuff. If you eat the wrong stuff, you'll get the wrong kind of body. And what is the right stuff? Pure food. Food in the mode of goodness. And the best is to accept the food that has been offered to the Lord. Prasad. Anyway, so that I should have mentioned earlier. So, these are the prerequisites actually for doing it. A person who wants to practice spiritual life must abstain from non-vegetarian food, including onion and garlic. Must. Because that will agitate the mind, agitate the body, drive one for all kinds of immoral and illicit activities. In order to lead a spiritual life, one has to be pure. So purity is essential. So that's why one becomes eligible to meditate only when one has withdrawn his senses from the objects of the senses. Then only he can project his consciousness internally. Because the Lord is situated in the heart. Lord is situated in the heart. And when the meditation, focusing the consciousness onto Him, is called dhyana or meditation, and when the focus becomes fixed, that is called dharana, the seventh stage. And then perception of the Lord leads to samadhi, trance. Because when you're seeing the Lord, when you're connected to the Lord, you have no connection to this external world anymore. Although you're here, you're not here. That's samadhi. So in that samadhi stage, one perceives the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, when you come across a very great personality, what will be the natural reaction? When you come across a very great personality, the natural reaction is the head bends down with respect, with awe and reverence. So that is surrender. Now that surrender is taking us to the next step. The surrender is the prerequisite or foundation of devotion. As Krishna is saying, Mam ekam sharanam praja. Surrender unto me. And that is taking us to that final stage, which is the loving relationship. You surrender, then what does the Lord do? Does He let you just lie there in your surrender, when you're offering obeisances? No. He picks you up as the loving Father, as the dearmost friend. And then the loving relationship begins. You surrender, but the Lord reciprocates. And that reciprocation leads to love. And that love is the final conclusion, Uttar Mimamsa, which has been established through Vedanta Sutra, the final branch of the sixth branch of philosophy. And this process has been most wonderfully explained through the elaboration of the Vedanta Sutra in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is how very systematically the Vedas are taken to the final point. The final point is Vedaischa Sarvai Ahameva Vedya. In all the Vedas, I alone am to be known. Bhakta mam abhijanati. I am to be known, but how can we know him? Bhakti, bhaktya. Through devotion, one can know. Bhakta mam. So this is how we can see that all these Vedic approach, whether we approach through this aspect of karma kanda, jnana kanda, and bhakti, it will lead to. If we go through the 6 branches of philosophy, if we approach properly, then we'll end with Vedanta Sutra, which is revealing the secret of bhakti. And the secret actually is to have the qualified teacher. It's only the qualified, when you come across a bona fide teacher, then only he can give us the right understanding. And here we can see, Prabhupada so wonderfully gave us this understanding. Otherwise, what's happening, people are getting stuck with different branches of philosophy. Oh, I am a follower of Nyaya. I am a follower of Vaisheshika. I am a follower of Karma Mimamsa. I am a follower of yoga, and so forth. But a bona fide spiritual master takes us through these rungs to the highest platform. That is loving devotional service to the Supreme Personality of God. And that is what Srila Prabhupada is giving us, and that is what we are getting in ISKCON. What ISKCON is giving is the final conclusion of the And even if we go through, this is another way we can look at it. Even if we go through Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam also is gradually taking us. It has 10 aspects. Atra sarga visargascha sthanam poshanam putayo manvantara ishanukatha nirodha mukti. The final is Ashraya, the loving shelter of the Lord. But is dealing with other aspects. Sarga, creation. Visarga, sub-creation. Sthanam, planetary systems. What is the structure of the universe? Vedas are giving it. Swami Bhagavatam is giving us the perfect understanding. Udaya, how the Lord is maintaining everything. Everything is being maintained by Him. Manvantara, different manus are coming with a set of demigods to take care of different affairs of this universe. Ishanukatha, the Lord descends as different incarnations, the descriptions of those incarnations, avatars. And liberation due to the cessation from all entanglement. And then finally, beyond that liberation is Ashraya, shelter of the Supreme Personality of God. Liberation is not everything. If a person is in the prison and if he gets out of the prison, is that the end of everything? When he comes out of the prison, he has to maintain himself. Now consider a prisoner comes out of the prison and is taken to the king's palace with the identity that he is the son of the king. Can you imagine what kind of good fortune that is for a prisoner? He was a prisoner. He not only get out of the prison, but he was taken to the palace of the king with an understanding that he is a prince. He is the son of the king. And that is our identity. And that's the benefit if we follow the process properly. Thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande. Does anybody have any question? Okay. Yes. What's that?
Sankhya Yoga consists of 26 tattvas, right?
Yeah.
So the 26 tattvas.
Sankhya, not Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya is a branch of philosophy. Yoga is separate.
Okay. So the 26th tattva is the supreme soul. Then why do you say it is an atheistic?
Huh? Why do you say?
It is an atheistic branch.
Yeah, because Sankhya as a yoga, as a branch of philosophy, is not dealing with that 26 consideration. They are simply analyzing the thing in 24 consideration. But this 25th and 26th is the Vaishnava addition. It's the Vaishnava Sankhya is dealing with. But that atheistic Sankhya, the Sankhya as a philosophy, is dealing with this 24 consideration. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
In ISKCON, we are
Give
not,
it. Give it.
in ISKCON, we are not dealing with all the different branches of philosophy.
Yeah. Right. All the there's no harm in dealing with. The thing is that we are not dealing because there's no use. When you have reached the top, when you have reached the top floor, do you want to bother about the lift? Do you bother about the staircase? No, you have reached the top.
We don't have to go through all these processes.
No, there's no need. But Prabhupada did say, when one takes to devotional service, it has to be understood that he has achieved the perfection of yoga. He has achieved the yoga perfection. Like, that is Krishna's mercy. Like, another thing, another example that Prabhupada actually gives, that what we are getting is something like, sometimes, some universities honor with PhD, doctor, right? So when one gets the doctor's title from the university, does it have to go back to the school? No. So there's no need for that. So those who have taken to devotional service, there's no need to get into that. But Prabhupada is saying that those who want to preach, all these questions may come. There will be challenges. But if you have the final answer, then you can answer all the challenging questions. Okay, so we can end with a little kirtan, which is the ultimate. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Gaur Premanande Hare Hare Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Ashtadharashta Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.